Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with the mighty Jingles, and today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new premium Imperator Nikolai I Soviet. Well, actually no, it's not Soviet, is it? I never know what to say when I'm looking at the Russian ships, because some of them are Imperial Russian ships and then some of them are Soviet ships, so I'm just going to call them Russian ships, and pretty much everybody knows what I'm talking about. But here it is, the first premium Russian battleship, the Imperator Nikolai I. Emperor Nicholas I, named after the last Tsar of Russia. And this ship's had quite a history. Well, for a ship that was never actually built, it had quite a history. Construction was started. This was the last big battleship to be laid down for the Imperial Russian Navy. Construction was delayed, thanks to the First World War, and then there was a small little incident known as the Communist Revolution, which finally put paid to this project. After renaming it 3 times, it was eventually scrapped. And it never became, well, you know, a thing. But we've got it here in World of Warships. It's available currently for, well, as I'm sitting here recording this video, it's only available for another 2 days. And I really did miss the boat, pun intended, on this one, because it was made available to the World of Warships EU community contributors before it went on sale, and I just didn't have time to take a look at it, which is a real shame because it's actually a pretty good ship. Nevertheless, I've gone out and bought it for myself and I've had a go, and you guys have sent some replays in as well, and it seems to be quite a popular ship, so we're going to take a look at it and find out why. As it happens, there are 2 other premium Tier 4 battleships, the Japanese Isuzushi and the American Arkansas Beta. Now, while you can't get your hands on the Arkansas Beta, it was a beta test reward after all. If you don't already have one, you can't get it. But they are all Tier 4 premium battleships, just like the Imperator Nikolai I. So we're going to compare these 3 and see what exactly you're getting for your money compared to the other premium Tier 4 battleships out of the Imperator Nikolai I. As far as armour is concerned, well, the Arkansas Beta and the Imperator Nikolai are definitely coming out ahead. When we're talking about thickness of armour, the armour on the Imperator Nikolai is anything up to 300mm thick, and that 300mm of armour is around the ship's citadel. So the citadel's quite well protected. The gun casements, however, are not. These gun turrets only have 75mm of armour, so you should probably count on getting these guns knocked out quite regularly. It does have a lot of guns though, but more on the guns in a moment. The Arkansas Beta has the most armour, up to 305mm, but there's not that much difference. It's just a 5mm difference of citadel armour. It does have relatively well protected gun casemates, however, up to 165mm thick. The Isuzushi, on the other hand, only has up to 203mm of armour. And once again, that's around the citadel. The gun casements, up to 152mm though, so while the ship itself isn't as well armoured as the other Tier 4 premiums, the guns are quite well protected. When it comes to firepower, there's not an awful lot to choose from between the 3 ships, although again the Isuzushi is kind of lagging behind the other 2. We'll take a look at that one first. Here it is. All of them have 305mm guns, but the Isuzushi only has 10 of them. 5 turrets with 2 guns in each, so 2 at the front and 3 at the rear, with the forward and 2 rearmost turrets super firing, one mounted above the other. When we look at the Arkansas Beta, it has 12 305mm guns mounted in 6 turrets, and again we've got super firing turrets at the front, midships and at the rear. But you will note that these 2 central guns on, well, certainly this one here is not going to be able to fire at a target directly to the rear of the ship. When we come on to the Imperator Nikolai, it also has 12 305mm guns in 4 turrets with 3 guns per turret. Now it's not bad news, but it can be unfortunate, because while the other ships have more turrets with less guns per turret, they also have very well armoured turrets. These gun turrets only have 75mm of armour, and it's almost as if the Imperator Nikolai is putting all of its eggs in one basket. If you lose a turret on the Isuzushi, you only lose 2 guns. If you lose a turret on the Arkansas Beta, you only lose 2 guns. But if you lose a turret on the Imperator Nikolai, and you are going to lose turrets on the Imperator Nikolai because they only have 75mm of armour, well, you're going to lose 3 guns. So that's not, I mean, it's not bad, but potentially it's going to cause you problems. So that's something to be aware of. The range of the guns on the Imperator Nikolai is... I can't find it. Oh, there it is, right at the bottom. Come on, Jingles, be professional. 14.1 kilometers, which again is about standard. The Arkansas Beta also has guns with a range of 14 kilometers, so there's a 100-meter difference. The Arkansas Beta has a better rate of fire, however, 2 rounds per minute. The Imperator Nikolai, the rate of fire on the guns on her are only 1.7 rounds per minute. It takes around about 34 seconds to reload the guns on this ship. They are not rapid-firing main battery guns. The Isuzushi, by contrast, also manages 2 rounds per minute, but the guns only have a 12.9 kilometer range, which is pretty bad. Damage-wise, they're all more or less the same. Maximum armor-piercing shell damage on the Isuzushi is 8,000 on the Arkansas Beta. It's 8,300, and on the Imperator Nikolai, it's 8,600. So, not a massive amount of difference between them, but again, the Isuzushi, compared to the other two, is kind of the racing car of the bunch. It isn't as well armoured. The guns aren't quite as good, but it does manage a fair lick of speed. The top speed of the Isuzushi is 27.5 knots, with a 12.9 second rudder shift time. The Arkansas Beta, 20.5 knots, with a 17.7 second rudder shift time, and the Imperator Nikolai, 21 knots, with a 12.8 second rudder shift time, which is not bad at all for a battleship. When we take a look at the secondary batteries of these ships, this is where things start to get interesting. The Imperator Nikolai has 20 130mm guns. Now, because they're 130mm guns, they fire high explosive. And there we go. 5 rounds per minute, with a range of 3.5 kilometers for 1900 maximum high explosive shell damage. The thing is, when you're looking at the secondary batteries on a battleship, it's not really about how much damage they do. When you're firing high explosive from your secondary batteries, it's more about the chance of setting your target on fire. And the high explosive shells from the secondaries on the Imperator Nikolai have a 9% chance on hit of setting the target on fire, and that's pretty good. With a firing range of 3.5 kilometers, the Arkansas Beta only has 127mm guns. These are basically destroyer armament secondary batteries, but it does have 21 of them. The only problem here is that they only have a 6% chance of setting the target on fire on hit, but they do have a much better rate of fire, for 8.6 rounds per minute, again with the 3.5 kilometer range, so that kind of evens it out. Less chance of setting the target on fire when they hit, but a superior rate of fire. So overall, roughly the same chance of burning your target as on the Imperator Nikolai. When we look at the Isuzushi, this is where things start to get interesting. It has 16 152mm guns and 6 76mm guns. When you're looking at the secondary batteries, determining whether or not they fire high explosive or armor piercing, it all depends on what the caliber of the guns are. 130mm, 127mm, and these 76mm guns are going to fire high explosive. The Isuzushi only has 6 of these 76.2mm guns, and they only have a 5% chance of setting the target on fire. They do have a 19 round per minute rate of fire, however, but it's only got 6 of them. The main secondary battery guns, if that's a thing, on the Isuzushi are 152mm guns. That means they fire armor piercing, so there is 0 chance that the Isuzushi's 152mm secondary battery guns, all 16 of them, are going to set the target on fire. They fire armor piercing ammunition because they're sufficiently high caliber. They also have a 3.5 kilometer range and a maximum armor piercing shell damage of 2,900. But they're still just 152mm guns. There is practically no chance that these guns are going to do any damage to an enemy battleship. So, as far as the secondary batteries are concerned, the Isuzushi is not looking too good. Aside from its blistering top speed of 27 knots, the Isuzushi, however, does have one other ace up its sleeve. It's got the best anti-aircraft defense rating of any of the premium Tier 4 battleships. That, however, is not saying an awful lot, because it only has an AA defense rating of 8. Those 76.2mm secondary battery guns double up as its anti-aircraft guns, and that's pretty much it. That's all it has. They have a 2 kilometer range. The Imperator Nikolai is even worse. it's it's got half the anti-aircraft rating, which was terrible to begin with, of the Isuzuki, an anti-aircraft defense rating of 4. It has 4 7.62mm Maxim machine guns and 2 63mm anti-aircraft guns. But at least it's better than the Arkansas Beta, which doesn't have any anti-aircraft guns. So yeah, that's the big weakness of the Tier 4 battleships. They're absolutely awful anti-aircraft defense rating. Aircraft carriers, torpedo bombers, they love going for Tier 4 battleships because they're practically defenseless. And that just leaves the concealment rating. Now, these of course are battleships, so they're going to be spotted from miles away. The Arkansas Beta will be detected on the surface from a range of 14 kilometers and from the air from a range of 9.7 kilometers. The Isuzuki will be detected from even further away, 16.6 kilometers on the surface and 11.2 kilometers from the air. But that's where the Imperator Nikolai is starting to look quite good. Its surface detectability range is only 12.8 kilometers, although its air detectability range is bizarrely 10.4 kilometers, which is more than the Arkansas Beta with a 9.7 kilometer. Nevertheless, on the surface, the Arkansas Beta is going to be spotted from 14 kilometers away. So what you have with the Imperator Nikolai is a Tier 4 premium battleship that is well armoured, even if the gun turrets are not well armoured. It has very good guns, and it's got a lot of them, although they aren't mounted in as many turrets, so there's more barrels per turret, and with the weakly armoured turret there's a greater chance that your guns are going to get knocked out in battle, but it does have a lot of guns and they are pretty good. Its secondary batteries are also very good, 20 130mm guns. Anti-aircraft defence, absolutely terrible, but hey, at least it's not as bad as the Arkansas Beta. It's not particularly fast, and that is the big problem with this ship, the speed. And it's not so much the raw top speed, it's the amount of speed that this ship loses when it turns, which is quite alarming actually. I've never seen a ship quite like it. However, it's actually quite sneaky for a battleship. It will only be spotted on the surface from a range of 12.8 kilometers, at least until you fire your guns, and then we'll see it from the next map over, because, you know, that's just what battleships are like. It's not a bad ship at all, and I really wish I'd taken advantage of getting to playtest this thing before the unwashed masses got their hands on it in the premium shop, because it is a fun ship to drive. And we're going to show you some examples. This was my very first game in the Imperator Nikolai I, and as is always the case, every time you unlock a brand new ship or a brand new tank in World of Tanks, and you haven't researched any upgrades on it, and you're sitting there hitting the battle button and just praying for the matchmaker to be gentle, it always makes you bottom tier, doesn't it? Some things never change, no matter which wargaming title you're playing. But it's not really that much of a problem when you're in a premium ship or a premium tank in World of Tanks, because there are no upgrades to research. Your stock configuration is as good as it gets. But at the end of the day, it's still a Tier 6 battle. There are Clevelands. Oh no, there's an aircraft carrier. And there are 3 destroyers on the enemy team. Oh, great. And I've already been spotted, and I'm already coming under fire from the enemy New Mexico class battleship, but his initial salvo wasn't particularly accurate. And this is the dilemma when you're in a slow bottom tier battleship like the Imperator Nikolai in this Tier 6 match. You don't want to hang back too far, because you do have good guns. And if you just sit around waiting for other bigger ships to go up ahead, then there's a very real danger that you're just going to be too slow to get involved in the action. Either all the enemy ships are going to be sunk before you can actually bring the guns to bear, or you're not going to be able to support the ships that have gone up front, they're going to die, and you will be next. So you're constantly running that knife edge between getting too close and staying too far away. It's a real difficult judgment call for drivers of very slow battleships like the Imperator Nikolai I. On this particular occasion, the attention of pretty much everybody on the enemy team up front was diverted by that friendly destroyer, and those 2 destroyers have just sunk each other. It looked like torpedoes? Yeah, I think they ran into each other's torpedoes. This allowed me to get into concealment and out of direct line of fire behind this island, as all of the other battleships and cruisers are steaming around in a more direct line towards these enemy ships. And now I'm in shooting range of that New Mexico. But I don't really want to be shooting at a New Mexico at extreme range as he's going at full speed and turning away. It's a difficult target to hit. Cleveland's out of range, so I'm going to have to take my chances with the New Mexico. And I fire two ineffectual salvos at the New Mexico. The first salvo misses completely. The second does actually score a hit, but doesn't do any damage. And then the majority of the enemy ships are turning tail and running back the way they came as we pursue them, with the exception of one Phoenix-class light cruiser, who is heading towards us as the rest of his team are running away. And nobody else on his team can shoot at me because this island's in the way, which basically means I've got this Phoenix's dance card all to myself. So I've got 12 rounds of 305mm armor piercing loaded, and I'm looking for some big old juicy citadel penetrations on this Phoenix. But I'm not going to get them because he's sitting dead in the water. How do you know that, Jingles? Well, he's not running into my shells for one thing. Also, if you look at his smokestacks, there's no smoke coming out of the funnels. His engines are not running. So I've completely wasted that salvo, and he's now focusing all of his guns on me, and he's firing high explosive, obviously. He's in a cruiser and he's shooting at a battleship. He sets me on fire with his first target strike. I use my damage control ability to put the fire out, but you're basically pissing in the wind here. If a cruiser starts shooting at you with high explosive and you're in a battleship, you're going to burn. It doesn't matter what captain skills you've got. It doesn't matter whether or not you've installed the damage control module. At some point you're going to start burning. Now you can see his engines have suddenly lit up. There's smoke coming out of his smokestacks, so now I'm aiming behind him, and he's going to try reversing around the side of that island. And we ended up doing this for quite a bit, actually. He would reverse around the side of the island, fire a few shots at me, set me on fire, and battleship drivers who complain about burning, they're kind of like light tank drivers in World of Tanks who complain about not having any armour. That's what you're driving. If you don't like it, drive something else. Battleships are going to burn. The majority of the crew of a battleship during both the Second and the First World Wars were not involved in firing the guns. They were standing by to repair damage received as a result of being in battle. These ships were designed to take hits and keep going. The Phoenix has almost made it into concealment. He gets another salvo into me. I am burning in two separate locations, by the way, and the crew are going to put the fire out before my damage control ability comes off cooldown. I'm still recovering health from using the repair party consumable. And while the Phoenix is busy going from full reverse to full speed ahead in order to come out and take another shot, I'm going to see if I can actually do some damage to this New Mexico, and that's a much, much better shot. I don't have to worry. He's not even turning. He's just steaming broadside on and exchanging shots with that Fuso. And bingo. I mean, it wasn't a citadel penetration, but I've finally done some solid damage to him. Meanwhile, our friend in the Phoenix has taken his brave pills, and here he comes. Only one hit, very, very minor damage. But it's going to take time to get these guns reloaded. And in that time, he's turning it around, and he's running back behind the island again. So, oh, for God's sake, stand and fight like a man, will you? Well, of course, he's not going to stand and fight like a man. He's in a cruiser. What do you expect him to do? And he's doing about as well as can be expected under the circumstances. He set me on fire again. I extinguished that one, since my damage control ability is now back off cooldown. And I'm pretty confident he's going to set me on fire yet again. Because this is what it's like when you're in a battleship and you've got a cruiser shooting at you. Can I get a shot at him before he makes it back into concealment? I'm not entirely sure I can. Maybe. Oh, maybe I can. Maybe I can. Unbelievably, I'm not burning. There we go. Come on. Come on. Oh, me and my big mouth. I'm on fire again. Hooray. Yes, I've done some damage. No citadel penetration yet, though. And that makes me sad. And he's coming out for another go. Is he? Is he? Is he turning around? I think he's turning around. He is turning around. This is the kind of range where battleship guns are very, very dangerous to cruisers. It's almost impossible to miss. He's sailing broadside on. I just can't miss at this kind of range. Bang, there you go. That's it. That right there is why people drive battleships. That's why people put up with the destroyers, they put up with the torpedo bombers, and they put up with the high explosive spam from cruisers. Those citadel penetrations are the reason why people put up with all the heartache of driving a battleship in World of Warships. And yet, you know, I can't help but feel I'm forgetting something. What is it I'm always saying about the Phoenix and the Omaha? Oh yes, they've got torpedoes, don't they? And yet, they all missed. And I have to admit, nothing would give me greater pleasure at this particular moment than to turn round to all of the battleship drivers who, every time I put a video up showing a dumbass battleship sailing in a straight line whenever there are torpedo bombers and destroyers around, or even Japanese cruisers for that matter, say, for God's sake, battleship drivers, stop sailing in straight lines. And to point to this part of the video and say, there you go, I'm in a battleship, I managed to avoid the torpedoes, but it wasn't actually me. I could try and bullshit you, but you wouldn't fall for it. I didn't actually. I'd completely forgotten that the Phoenix could have launched torpedoes at me. But what actually saved me there was a particular... how should we refer to this? A particular feature of the Imperator Nikolai I that became apparent as I was avoiding those torpedoes. This ship loses speed in the turn like nothing I have ever known. My speed when I went into that turn was around 20 knots, and at the slowest point of the turn, my speed had actually dropped down to just over 11 knots. This ship can lose half of its speed when you put it into a maximum rudder turn. That's quite frightening, actually. And this is why when you look at something like the rudder shift time on the Imperator Nikolai I, which is pretty good, I think it was 12.9 seconds. It's no more than, well, it's no less than 12 and it's no more than 13. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head. And you think, actually, that's not bad for a battleship. Well, it isn't bad for a battleship. It's very good for a battleship, but that does not mean the ship has a very tight turning circle, because it slows down so drastically when you pull a hard turn. Oh look, there's the Cleveland. He was the first guy who actually scored a hit on me in this game. You know what they say about revenge? Totally worth it. I do like the guns on this ship. They are very, very good. Anyway, enough about me. This is 10 Stone Boyo, or at least I think that's what his name means, and with a name like that it's entirely possible that he might be from Wales. And he's managed to get his Imperator Nikolai I into a tier 4 match, the lucky git. I think he might have been stuck on the loading screen for a while before this game booted up, because, well, he's already in shooting range of enemy ships. There's a couple of cruisers over there that, well, one of them's in range anyway. So, switches to armor piercing from the default high explosive, guns are loaded. There's a Phoenix for him to shoot at. Well, can't really see the Phoenix, can he? He's behind the island. On the other hand, there's one of them newfangled German cruisers, a Karlsruhe, so he gives it a lot of lead. Gives it a little bit too much lead, if we're going to be honest here. Not that I'm criticising, you've seen what my shooting's like. And he pretty much misses the Karlsruhe. What's interesting is his situational awareness skill goes off. Well, of course it went off, Jingles. He fired his guns, he is in a battleship. Well, yeah, but what I mean is, it's interesting that he even has a situational awareness skill. It's usually one of the last skills I pick on a battleship. Why is that, Jingles? Well, you're in a battleship. I mean, you can take for granted that you're going to be detected. Although, yeah, then again, I mean, this ship is pretty sneaky. It does have a very good surface detectability range for a battleship, so maybe that's not a completely bad idea. Well, I don't know. And this is just me speaking personally, of course, but when you go out there and because when you get this ship, you don't get a 3-point captain in it. You get a captain with no skill points. So usually the first thing that people are going to do is they're going to sack him, and they're going to spend 25 gold to get a 3 skill point commanding officer. So you've got 3 skill points, and you're going to put one of those into situational awareness in a battleship. I just think that there are better places you can put the points. That's all I'm saying. But it's clearly working for Boyo. When you see the amount of damage he does in this game, you're going to say, what are you talking about, Jingles? Just shut up and watch him play. Okay, fair enough. Oh, cruisers, don't do this. Look at that. Yep, and that wasn't even a citadel penetration. That's just a bunch of armor-piercing hits. Cruisers, when you're less than 10 kilometers away from a battleship with lots and lots and lots of very, very big guns, do not sail broadside onto them, because they'll do that to you. You saw me do it to the Phoenix, and you just watch Boyo do it to that Karlsruhe. And he's going to keep doing it, because they're going to keep doing it. You're basically saying to the battleship, look, I realise I'm a difficult target to hit, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to present the broadest possible target to you, while at the same time giving you the best possible chance of penetrating my citadel. And now the Phoenix has given him the broadside as well, and it would be rude not to shoot at a target as juicy as that, and bang, there you go. Cruisers, you're not making it difficult for battleships to rip you apart if you keep doing that when they're ready to fire. Oh, hang on, why is he turning all of a sudden? He can't fire all of his guns if he does that. Well, because the destroyer has just popped up in front of him and he's not a bloody idiot. There are going to be torpedoes in the water. There's 2 battleships over here, and there are the torpedoes. Do you see how easy it is to avoid the torpedoes if you don't wait until you actually see them in the water? And, well, that was nice as well, wasn't it? Armour piercing loaded, not the ammunition type of choice to be shooting at destroyers. They're not going to do full damage, but if you hit him with enough of them, they're going to do some. And there's a second salvo of torpedoes in the water, and he didn't even have to try to avoid those because he'd already, well in advance, taken the necessary action. And now he can feel reasonably safe in turning to present his guns towards these targets, and oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, cruisers, seriously, stop it. You know what happens if you do that? That's what happens. Oh, and there are the other torpedoes. Guess what? He's not sailing in a straight line. He hasn't been hit by a single torpedo. It's almost as if it's easy. That's because it is. As long as you don't wait until you actually see the torpedoes when you're in a slow-moving battleship like the Imperator Nikolai I. Destroyers? Yeah. You can avoid the torpedoes from destroyers as long as you're not getting swarmed by multiple destroyers from multiple different angles. Then, well, yeah. Good luck. Airdrop torpedoes, they're a problem in this ship. It's only got an anti-aircraft defense rating of 4. Oh look, more torpedoes. How is he able to avoid torpedoes fired from a destroyer that he can't see? Because he didn't turn the ship broadside on in order to shoot at the targets on the far side of the smokescreen when he knew there was a destroyer in the smokescreen. He turned no more than was absolutely necessary to be able to get some of his guns to fire at those targets. And that's how he was able to avoid the torpedoes. He didn't see the destroyer, he didn't see the torpedoes, but he saw the smokescreen and he took the necessary steps. And once again, armour piercing might not be the best ammunition choice to be shooting at destroyers, but if you hit him with enough of them, they can still get the job done. Oh, and there's the rest of his torpedoes. And yeah, that's not difficult to avoid, is it? He's basically steaming straight towards them. Uh-oh, here comes trouble. Torpedo bombers. But I think they're going for the battleship on his left flank. They are, okay. So, armour piercing loaded, firing at an aircraft carrier. Aren't you supposed to fire high explosive at aircraft carriers? You know, set their flight deck on fire? Stop them from being able to launch aircraft? Well, yes and no. If you fire armour piercing, yeah, you do citadel penetrations like that. Oh, and guess what? The Miyogi has also managed to avoid every single torpedo dropped at him by an aircraft carrier. It's really not that difficult. It gets much more difficult up at tier 8, 9 and 10, where the aircraft are so much faster, and you have little chance of avoiding a salvo of airdropped torpedoes. But down here at tier 4, it's not that difficult. It really isn't, even though you don't have any anti-aircraft firepower. It's just, you know, pay attention to what's going on around you. Don't just focus on what's occurring down at the end of your gun barrel. Neither of these battleships have been hit by a single torpedo this entire game, and they've had a lot of torpedoes fired at them. Just keep your head up. Pay attention to what's going on around you. If you see a smoke screen, there's probably a destroyer in it. If you see a destroyer, there's probably torpedoes in the water. Don't wait until you see the torpedoes before you start doing something about it, because at that point, when you're in ships that are as slow as these, well, it's far too late. So, the question of what to fire at an aircraft carrier if you're in the Imperator Nikolai I. My opinion, and yours may be different, is that since you're going to have armour piercing loaded anyway, fire the armour piercing. You'll probably sink him a heck of a lot faster. The thing is, you're only firing 12 shots at the most every 33, 34 seconds. So you've got 12 chances of setting them on fire every half a minute, assuming all 12 hit, and those are not good odds. It's better to just sink him as quickly as possible with citadel penetrations, with your armor piercing. And yes, there are torpedo bombers on the way, and yes, he has seen them, but he's just going to finish this guy off. And there we go, shots out, and he's already turning to take into account. There we go, he's sunk the Langley, no problem. And once again, if he'd been in a Congo, something as quick as a Congo, he would have probably clipped one or more of these torpedoes, because the Congo is just so fast and it doesn't lose that much speed when it turns. But this thing, yeah, just start turning and they're gonna miss. It is as simple as that. Now, check this out. That is a practically full health Kawachi class battleship. He's not going to be on full health for long. That Phoenix in the background over there, he has actually just launched his torpedoes. They're going to come in from behind the Kawachi. But he's now in secondary gun battery range. He's got 20 of these 130mm guns, all firing high explosive. There's a citadel penetration. There's some big damage going on at that Kawachi there. There are the torpedoes. They're not a problem. The Phoenix has taken hits from the secondary guns. The Phoenix has been taken out by the secondary guns. Now, since he knows there's no longer going to be any torpedoes in the water, he can start straightening it out and bringing all of his 305mm guns to bear, and bang. As quickly as that, 3 enemy ships sunk. And that Wyoming is AFK. So, yeah, he's just going to farm some free damage and free experience and free credits on the Wyoming as everybody rushes to finish him off. Oh, his anti-aircraft guns are firing, bless them. Like they're ever going to shoot anything down. Although, I don't know, you never know your luck. Oh, citadel penetrations on the Wyoming. If you're wondering what you should shoot at an aircraft carrier if you're not in a battleship, by the way, yeah, whatever you like. If you're in a ship with rapid-firing guns that don't do a massive amount of damage, yeah, spam him with high explosive. You will set him on fire. And once you've set him on fire, if your guns have a sufficiently high caliber, you're in a cruiser, for example, with 152, 156, and 203mm guns, and there goes the Wyoming. At that point, sure, switch to armor piercing. Once his aircraft are no longer capable of being launched because you've set his flight deck on fire, then yeah, switch to armor piercing and just sink him really, really quickly. But in a battleship like this, don't bother with a high explosive. Armor piercing all the way. Oh, is this guy gonna... Is he gonna take a torpedo? He's doomed, of course. He's the last ship left on the enemy team. And this is not a great angle at which to be shooting a battleship, because armor angling does work in World of Warships. This is why he was able to take so little damage from the Kawachi, because he was not sailing broadside onto him. He turned just enough to get the guns firing and no more. And he has managed to avoid most of the torpedoes, but I think he took 2 of them. And wow, he's actually managed to shoot an aircraft down. Is he allowed to do that? And his secondaries have set this guy on fire. That's what they do. And he's about to reload, but he's holding his fire until he can shoot into the side, and bang, there we go. That wasn't bad at all. So, 10-stone Boyo showing us what 140,000 damage looks like in a Tier 4 battleship. The Imperator Nikolai I. You can get this thing in the World of Warships premium shop for a very, very, very limited period of time. At the time I was recording this video, it was only available for another 1 day and 23 hours. So by the time this video is uploaded and processed and you guys see it, probably a day and a half. It's going to cost you €30, £29.99. In proper money, that's £21.20. For that you get the battleship. Obviously you also get a port slot. You get 5,250 gold doubloons and you get 200 signal flags. That's not actually bad value for money. It's just really annoying that once again you can't just buy the ship and the port slot. You have to get 5,250 doubloons and 200 signal flags as well. But the signal flags are going to come in useful. And, well, it is a premium battleship, so you're probably going to be using the golden doubloons to convert free experience on this thing. So, as packages go, £21.20, 200 signal flags, bunch of gold, Tier 4 battleship. Yeah, it's not bad. I think it would be better if, as well as the package, you also had the option of just getting the ship at a port slot, but you don't. Nevertheless, if enough of us whine about it often enough, Wargaming will start to pay attention. In fact, they already are starting to pay attention. The M4 improved Sherman tank in World of Tanks is available as a package deal or just as the tank and a garage slot. So let's hope that catches on here in World of Warships as well. Nevertheless, it is pretty good value for money. And it is a pretty good ship. The main battery guns are very good. The secondary battery guns are very good, and it's got a lot of them. 20 130mm guns. The anti-aircraft defences are terrible, of course, but that's no better or worse. Well, it is better than the Arkansas Beta, which doesn't have any anti-aircraft guns, but they're still terrible. The armour is not bad at all, except for on the gun casements. The guns do tend to get knocked out, although we didn't see much of that in the two replays that I've shown you today, but it does happen. And the hull armour is okay, as long as you don't turn the flat side of the ship on to people firing large caliber armour piercing guns at you, because you're just begging to have your citadel penetrated. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's not the fastest ship in the game, but none of the tier 4 battleships are particularly quick, with the exception of the Isuzushi, the Japanese premium tier 4, which can do 27 knots, but the Isuzushi pays for it by not having as many guns and having significantly worse armour. Imperator Nikolai I available in the Wargaming World of Warships premium shop for a very, very, very limited time, and in package form only, although you do get good value for money out of it. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, folks, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.